Hey everybody, this is Alicia and we are gonna do our second lesson today, and this time you're gonna have to excuse the thunder and the rain outside our windows. We do have them closed today. We had them open yesterday, but it is a rainy day in Georgia and all of the leaves are starting to pop out on our trees, so that's pretty exciting. As I was saying, we are going to do this acrylic butterfly, and what you need to do, if you haven't already, is go to masterpiecesociety.com/color, and there you can enter your email address and have this 30-page PDF sent to your email. Yesterday we did the spring chicks. Let me grab those for you. This was the one we did yesterday. This was the piece that I did as like a sample. So if you didn't get to participate in that one, you can do it today. Just watch that video. So if you watched yesterday, I showed you how to transfer an image from a template to your canvas or your watercolor paper. And basically all you do is you take your paper and you scribble on the back of it with your pencil, then you lay it over, and what I like to do is use like a mechanical pencil with the lead pushed all the way in, and I just use that as a stylus to trace over the lines, and then it transfers it to your canvas or your paper. Today I am using watercolor paper again, and I've already transferred my butterfly template to my page. But I want to show you what I'm going to do, because I don't have a template for this flower, but I'm going to show you how to create one. And I wanted to go ahead and get the butterfly image transferred first. So once you do your butterfly image, grab a bowl or a cup or something round to use. I am going to use, this is just a jar of paint, and I'm going to stick it right down in the middle of, well, as close to the middle of my piece as I can. Let me see if I can get this straighter. Now, I meant to tell you ahead of time that I took my 9x12 watercolor and I cut it to 9x9 so that it would be perfectly square. That helps because we're going to be doing this flower, and it helps keep it a little bit more symmetrical. And when you do that, just save your watercolor pieces that you cut off, because these could become, you could cut them in half and make bookmarks, or they're just awesome little scraps of paper to have around to practice, to maybe even block out the colors in your watercolor tray so that you'll know what they look like. So never throw away your watercolor paper. It always comes in handy. All right, so what I'm going to do is, you notice I've already got the butterfly in first. That's important. And you can put it straight, you can put it cockeyed like I've done. Basically, this is going to be like we're looking down on top of a flower and the butterfly is lit there. So I'm going to take my pencil, and this time I'm going to get my lead out and just follow my jar. Whoops, I really got out of line there, but I don't want to go all the way around the butterfly. So you can see I just stopped here. I'm going to put my jar away. And then now I'm very lightly going to draw some petals. They're going to be big petals coming off. So you want them to be like in your face, Georgia O'Keeffe style flowers. So I'm going to do one at north. I'm going to come here and just pretend like I started at the center of the flower, and this is my south. We can do the same over here, east. So basically I'm just pretending like this petal is underneath the butterfly, but I'm going to turn it a bit to do west because it's easier for me to draw. All right, so I've got 4 petals, and then I'm just going to come back in here and do northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. And I'm making all of my petals go off the page. Now, what you're gonna need for this one is I'm gonna be using just craft paints, and I'm not even gonna be using a palette for these. Since I'm only using these 3 colors, I will be using the lids. If you don't have craft paints, just use markers, or you can use watercolors. I am also going to be coloring inside the butterfly with the Crayola washable markers. So you can, like I said, do the whole thing with the markers, or do acrylics and then come back with the intricate details and do markers like I do. Also, for some fun highlightings and designs, I'm going to use this white Sharpie pen, and then we will also outline it with a black Sharpie. If you don't have a black Sharpie, just use a black washable marker. If you don't have a white Sharpie, I will show you how to use white paint. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to be using blue for my butterfly. Let me pull this here, and I'm going to put this one. Hopefully you can see it. Let me move the little chicks. You can look at this one as I create this one. And basically, I'm just gonna pour a little bit of that in my cup, in the lid, sorry. And I'm using a round brush. This one is a number 6. You can use whatever you have available. Let me get that piece of lint off. And for this one, I want to paint the butterfly first, because we want that to be drying while we paint the petals, so that we can come back with our markers. So all I'm gonna do is just start following the line that I traced out. So if you're here joining us, let us know you're watching. If you're watching by the replay, put replay on there, and don't forget about posting your pictures so that we can enter you into the drawing for the art supplies. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comments. And if I see them, I will answer them. If not, I will have Olivia answer them for me. Or actually, she could read them to me. Olivia, do you have the live pulled up, or are you? Okay.
There are none so far.
All right. So I'm going relatively fast. If you're doing this live with me, I apologize in advance, but you can always go back when we post the video and pause it so that you can see what I'm doing. But all I'm doing really is just coloring it in. So if you want to choose your own colors for the butterfly, for the flower, go right ahead. Make this your art piece. I'm just trying to get all of these little intricate spaces between the decorations on the butterfly. And this would be much easier to do with just plain markers or even crayons, but I like showing you how you can blend the different mediums. Break all the rules. All right, let's try to get some of this white space covered. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to come back after it's dried and color in and outline, and you can correct a lot of mistakes that way. So I'm just going to turn it. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker here so that we'll be done before my boys come home for lunch. They're just right down the road. You can also make your own designs. You don't have to make the same pattern in this butterfly in his or her wings as I'm doing. And I chose the round brush because it has a pointy tip that will help you when you're trying to get around these little patches right here on the wing. But if you only have a flat brush, that will work too. You just hold it straight up and just slide it. Let me grab a flat brush to show you. This one would be a little bit too thick, but you could just do it straight up and that would help you get in between those if you only have the flat brush. All right, so now I'm going to turn it once again and come down and get these lower wings. Here, I'm just going to wiggle my brush and make it look like the wings have a little scallop to it. Remember that acrylics are very forgiving. If you get out of line, make a mistake, don't worry about it. You can just let that dry and then come over it with a different color if you want to, or the same color. If you get inside these patches, you can let it dry and come back over it with white paint or a white Sharpie or even a white gel pen. I think I just did that. I think I just messed that up. It's supposed to be here. And then just color it in. I'm going to leave those a little bit raw looking right there because we can clean that up with the Sharpie in just a few minutes. So let's come over and get this final wing, and then we're going to let the butterfly rest a bit and dry. I did mess up right here, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit more symmetrical. And just go ahead and color that in. This is the most intricate part, a little more time consuming. The fun part's coming up with the petals. At least that's the part I love. Okay, I'm gonna try to get this Unfortunately, I can't see all of my pen marks or pencil marks. And I think I made this one a little shorter on that side, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Again, I'm just wiggling my brush right here to give that scalloped effect on the bottom of the wing. If you're just joining us, run to masterpiecesociety.com/color and download your 30-page PDF template to get this butterfly template and the chick template and all the templates we're going to be using this week so that you can create with us. And we're going to be giving away lots of prizes this week. So I'm done with the wings, and I'm going to clean my brush, just dip it in some water, and then wipe it on a cloth or a paper towel. And I didn't use very much. You see, I still have a lot of the paint in my bottle. So actually what I'm going to do, instead of just putting that lid on there, I'm going to get a palette knife in just a little bit and dip it all back in there. But I'm going to set it aside at the moment. Get me a drink of LaCroix. So now I am going to use this violet, vivid violet is what I'm using. You don't have to use the same colors as me. These are just the ones I thought would be really cool because I happen to love bright colors. So this one's a little thick here. Once again, I'm just going to pour the paint into the lid. Please feel free to use a palette if you want to. I'm going to move this one out of the way because, as you can see, I go off the page with my paint. This is a good time to grab you some newspaper or a plastic bag or some sort of something to protect your table if you don't want it to look like that. Because, well, let's just say I did that to our kitchen table and my husband wasn't too happy and he had to refinish it, so. All right, so what I'm gonna do, let me just start on this one because, no, let's start on this longer one. This is probably the longest. Maybe come right here. You know what? Pause that because I don't wanna do the petals yet. Let's go ahead and, sorry about that, let's go ahead and do this yellow center. Whoops, it's way too much. So I just wiped off my brush. Let me get the crumbs off this piece. Because it will be so much easier to go around the yellow with the pink than to come back in and try to cover up the pink with the yellow or this purple. So I'm just basically going to fill this in. I'm going to leave this little round area for the butterfly's head, but I'm going to go ahead and just cover up the antenna because you can actually see under this yellow. If you do a different colored center and you decide to cover it up, just remember, I mean, they're pretty easy. Come back and do 2 little lines with a dot at the top. So I might go a little bit slower around the circle. Have a blue crumb there. Oh well, let's just leave it. And then just come and paint up to the circle. Maybe a little bit smoother than I'm doing. And be real careful up next to your butterfly. But as you can see, I've already got a little bit of the yellow on the blue, but once we come back with our black pen to do the border, it's not going to be noticeable. Okay, now we've got that yellow center, we can move on to our petals. And as I was saying, just maybe put this little line here to separate it, and then start taking your brush and just do these long strokes. Oh my goodness, I still have the yellow in the petal, in the brush, and I love that. It's giving it a little bit of an orange effect. But when you do the brush strokes like this, and remember, cover up your table, please, it's gonna make the petals look more natural because all the petals in flowers have veins, like leaves have veins. It just adds to that. So instead of doing it back and forth or in circles like we did here, just long strokes. All right, so I'm just gonna be doing the exact same thing around. Maybe I will come back like this and just give myself these guidelines around the yellow. And that's all the yellow that we have showing because the butterfly is on top of that. So just the same thing. Kind of curve your brush strokes in to give the curve to the petal. And then bring them to the edge of your paper. Right here, I want to fix that. And then this right here is the start of this petal. I am going to need a little bit more paint in my lid. Let's do the same around the edge of the butterfly wing, just so I don't, because I get carried away and I don't want to accidentally paint the wing this purpley color. Vivid Violet is the name of the one I'm using. Your flower can be a daisy or a sunflower or a zinnia, any kind of flower you like. Look at all the paint I have on this brush. I would suggest not using so much paint. Here I'm just gonna very carefully go in between the wings and then around the wing. And remember, we did the little wiggling of our brush to give the scallops on the wings there, so just be real careful there. Right here, I would like to just maybe straighten up my brush strokes a bit because I want that petal going in a vertical direction. All right, let's do the same thing right here, coming up in between the bottom wings, just to outline it. Remind ourselves not to cross this line. And follow the scallops. I like to put a lot of paint on my brush for these petals. It also kind of gives you big dollops of paint, which also contribute to the look of the real petal. And then right here, let's just try to close that petal up a bit more. So obviously this is an abstract flower, so don't get too worried about it. Just have fun. There's no right or wrong way to do this. If you don't have the paints, once again, use markers, crayons. You could use oil or chalk pastels, except this would be a little bit difficult getting in. You could do the gel pens. So I'm trying to remember that these strokes need to be coming straight. I'm curving them a bit. I also have a little bit of a Jackson Pollock effect going on because every time I take my brush out of the paint, I'm getting little drips on here. We'll just call it abstract expressionism. All right, good. So far, we're doing good with the drying. These craft paints dry so much quicker than the student grade heavy body paints. And most people have the fun craft paints. They come in so many colors. All right, we are down to our, let me get some of this off the top part of my brush, down to our last petal. And I'm hoping, yeah, these feel like they're dry, pretty much dry too. So I'm very famous for sticking my hand in my paints and smearing paint all over the place. My claim to fame. How awesome is that? I do want to mention that if you want to leave these little edges white, then you can. I came back in with a marker because, like I said, it's like you're looking down on top of the flower and maybe you see the grass underneath. You don't have to do that. You can leave it white, or you can add maybe a different shade of purple or pink to make it look like an extra set of petals underneath the top layer. So I'm pretty much done with this, and I'm going to let that dry. I'm looking at this area. I probably should have started here, but this one is dry. So what I'm going to do is turn the butterfly like this, since this is drier than this area, and that way I can take care of the pattern inside the butterfly's wing. So I've got a lot of let me grab real quick, right behind me, I think. Just take a palette knife. Let me show you what I'm gonna do. If you don't have a palette knife, you can use a butter knife. And you just dig it out of the lid. This actually saves paint because I'm really good at pouring out a lot on my palette and then getting distracted and letting it dry up on my palette. So when I do use it out of the lid, it makes me remember to put it back in there. You could actually wipe it off with a wet paper towel or a baby wipe so it doesn't stick, but basically that's how you put it back up. Now let's go ahead and grab, what did I do with, there they are. I'm just using the washable Crayola markers, and I'm going to use purple and yellow, pink, orange, and I'm going to grab out the green again. So I'll put this, since I'm not going to be turning it too much, I don't think, put this back in the shot so you can see what I'm doing. And just choose your favorite colors. Let's go ahead and give this little dude a green body. My blue acrylic paint right here is dry. I see here I kind of missed a spot, but that's okay. All right, let's do some orange. I would not do this if it were still wet because it might mess up your markers. And I don't have any set place for where I'm putting my colors, but I do want to try to keep them symmetrical. So if I do one on one side of the wing, I'm gonna come back and do another in the corresponding section of the other wing. And don't worry about coming out over the paint like that. It's going to be hidden at the end. All right, so let's do some pink. That pink almost looks the same color as the violet. And lastly, the purple. You see how I'm not really staying in the lines? It's not that exact. Okay, so I'm thinking that it's all right to go ahead with our black pen. So grab your Sharpie once that you feel like your butterfly is pretty much dry. And then all we're gonna do is just come and outline it to just give it a little bit more definition. Then I'm gonna outline each of my little color patches. I probably should have started on, you're probably seeing it, is it showing up the right way? It looks like it's showing up the right way this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should have started on, oops, my left, but I didn't. But I can just turn the paper.
There's a little spot on your pink that you missed and it's bugging me.
A little spot on my what?
On the pink at the top right corner, when you outlined it.
Right there?
Yeah, it's bugging me.
Okay. Well, if you see anything else that's bugging you, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Of course.
If you're there and you see something that's bugging you, put it in the comments and Olivia will let me know. I really don't want to bug you peoples. You peoples. All right, so here we're gonna just make a little curviness for the scallop. And I'm just turning it since, oh, now I'm sticking my hand in the paint as per usual. And I must have gotten a little bit of wetness on my marker here. All right, I'm going to make sure I close up all the lines for Olivia. See, that's bugging me right there, that little area. Oh well. Look, I forgot to do that orange. Olivia, you're making me self-conscious here.
Yeah, yeah.
At least the thundering stopped.
Yeah.
It was getting a little loud there when I first went live. All right, so that one's basically outlined. I'm a little hesitant to do this because I still see some of the pink paint that is wet right here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it on the inside of the flower just to show you. I suggest that you let your acrylics get good and dry before you do this. And then you can come back on the outside of each petal and outline it. That one is really wet right there. At the risk of bugging Olivia, I'm not going to close that petal up until it's dry. Oops. All right, I don't know if I've missed any other spots, but we will come back once that's dry and just fill that in. So the next thing I'm going to do is use my Sharpie pen. And if you don't have a Sharpie pen, I'm going to show you what you can do. You grab my white. So you can take just what's in the lid of your acrylic craft paint, and you can use the end of maybe a thin brush, and you can just take the end and dab it and create your dots that way. So you don't have to have a Sharpie pen, you don't have to have a gel pen to create this effect. I think we decided a while back that I like putting dots on things. I don't know why. But see, that's very simple. It's not as quick as using a Sharpie. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this. This is acrylic. If you're going to use one, make sure that it is water-based. That's the blue band at the bottom. If it's the pink band, that means it's oil-based, and you are not going to be wanting to breathe those fumes. But what you do is just shake it up, and you hold it straight up. And just pounce it around. You can do it on both sides of the petal if you want to. I'm only going to do it on one. You don't have to do it at all. I just love the effect that leaving white till the last of any painting. It just has such a cool effect, highlights everything, makes all the colors pop. Being careful right there where it's still wet. You can do the same on the butterfly. And in fact, we did it on this one. So you could also actually come in outside your colors and add that effect there if you don't want to do it. It's up to you. You could actually make scallops. I'm gonna just continue up the outside of this wing. And let's finish these off over here. And we're basically done. You can, like I said, if you prefer to do yours on top of the wings, go ahead. And on this, the petals, I did come in with a Sharpie and just add a little, oops, couple of lines just coming out. Just have fun, make this your own. So cannot wait to see your beautiful creation.